Okay, so in this video we're going to be talking about challenge number 5 from the group quiz I gave you guys. This is about the art of geometry, so this is us learning how to use Desmos and some of the basics of the interface there. So we'll begin by going to Desmos, and if you just go to desmos.com, it's going to look like this. So we'll leave so you can see the main page. You should sign up for an account and make sure you have one, otherwise it won't save your work. So click Open Graphing Calculator. It should open here again. I'll do that so you can see it. You're going to click Open Graphing Calculator. That's where we'll do most of our work in here. And what we're going to do is create some points in this space. So the first thing we'll do is just put an empty parentheses, and we'll type 0, 0, okay? And as it is, this point doesn't have a name right now. So you can see I can't move it. If I click on it, it doesn't move around. But if I add something in front of here, capital A, and then equals, I'd like you to see how now I can move it around. So by giving it a name, we're able to move it around in space. And so now what I want you to see is that we can copy things by pressing Control and C. So you can copy this and paste it, or you could type it again. I'd probably copy it. And now I want you to see how if I take the green point and move it, we can put these 3 points in 3 different places, and we can get a triangle. They're just not connected right now. So notice they have 3 different colors, but they all have the same name. We want to change that. Let's make the blue one be called capital B, and we'll make the green one called capital C. Now, notice that they don't have letters on here. We have the colors, so let's add the labels so that we can know which one we're talking about, and we can be more precise. So here we'll add A, here we'll add B, and here we'll add C. And the idea for this is that we're going to learn how to connect them. Okay, so once you have your 3 points, again, make sure we're using capital letters. Okay, I'd like you guys to see that if I use lowercase letters, this is not going to work. So we'll go ahead and make this error happen on purpose. Okay, lowercase letters, I had a lot of students feel like they did something incorrect. Okay, and the thing about this is basically a programming language. It's all computer programs, right, that we're plugging in here. So if I type in capital B, capital C, like how I had on my board, and I had students that were like, oh, it's not working, it's not connecting the triangle. Well, notice it's because these are lowercase. So if I make these uppercase, it will do it for us, and now we have our triangle. Okay, but then I want you to see how, if I make another point called A, and then go in here and put that at 0, 0 or something, now this, look, it broke the triangle, and now it gives us an error here, and it shows us there's something happening. It says you define A in more than one place. So it'll help you debug it, but you do have to go hover your cursor and read what it said, and then try to understand what that means. Okay, in this case it says, hey, we put A in more than one place. So if I just call this D, you mean it'll work? See? So the triangle comes back. Now if you left click, you can change the color of objects. So if I want to change it to black, we could do that, or orange or green. So these are some of the basics we're learning right now is how to do that. This is the width of the line. So if I change that to 3, you can see that the whole triangle gets a little thicker. Okay, these are the individual points. So say I want to change this point to a different color, maybe I want them all to be red, then I would go up and left click on the color and just hold it down until this menu opens up, and I would press that. Okay, one thing I was showing people is the label. Let's say we want to make the labels bigger. Well, I can go here and type the number 2, and you can see it makes B a lot bigger, right? That label got like really big. If I type in 3, you can see this is pretty big. And if I want to move it over here, then I can kind of rearrange it a little bit. So maybe 3 is too big, so I was telling my students to kind of see that you can go in between. We could do like 1.2 if we want also. So maybe go adjust the labels so that you can get them to the right size so that they're visible, again, against whatever's in the background. So right now you should have hopefully a triangle and 3 points. And so what we want to do is, let's go back to our challenge and see what it was. Okay, in Desmos, you want to create a visual illustration of a right triangle on an image from your country. And we could do this using any visual art. Okay, so let's add that. Using any visual art, and this includes architecture. So I'll put both words just to be specific. So it could be a painting or a statue. I think statues could be a really cool one to see. And architecture obviously is also 3D, so that's one thing, but the visual art is 2D. So I think if you pick a good artist from the country, you might be able to find something that is really unique. So we're going to take a screenshot of that onto the Google slide after we get this. So first, we're not even done. To do part 2, we have to first finish part 1. So I'll show you what that looks like. I believe I have an example here, one that I was working on. Okay, this would be a screenshot of what I did in Desmos. Okay, so this is what we're going to get when we're starting to complete our product. But first we have to work on that in Desmos and create it. So we'll have some examples. We'll do our math in Desmos, and then we'll move to the Google slide eventually. In order to get our image onto the slide, we're going to have to press plus, and then we need to actually save the image. So you can't just paste an image into here. You have to have it saved into your drive already. And then you'll go through and you'll try to find something. And in this case, we know we're looking for something with the right angle. So in this case, I'm going to lean towards this photo of the Louvre. There's a pyramid in front of the Louvre. And we could see some kind of important pictures here, some important features. One of them we see is the midpoint of the Louvre pyramid. And if you can see the bottom, this is getting a reflection, right? So we have this line right here that I just made the x-axis right here. This is representing the floor, the ground. And if I was to put this point here, I could put that on the origin, right? Notice it went to 0, 0. And if I go put this up here, the point A, I have already represented a right triangle. Okay? I would say that this side coincides with the ground. This side coincides with the center line, which is kind of an imaginary structure of the pyramid, and this line coincides with the edge of the actual pyramid, right? So once you have this and you get all your lines, we want to make sure that it's actually a right angle. So let's notice how A and B both have a coordinate of 0, and so notice that means that this line is going straight up and down. So we want to make sure that BC is going straight left and right. And I see that B has a y coordinate of 0, right? So it's right on the ground. So we want to make sure that C also has a y coordinate of 0. And we see it's close, but it's not perfectly. So I'm going to erase that, and we'll go change that to 0. And now you can see that this is perfectly a right angle. It's exactly what we wanted it to be. So this would be basically complete as long as, again, you have the image and everything put together. And then we would take a screenshot of it, and then we would start to work with what we're going to do next. Is be that we take this and put it into Google Slides. But honestly, I'll talk to you guys about that later. We don't have to go through all of those steps right now. We'll talk about that another time, okay? But you should at least know the name of what it is that you looked at, okay? We're going to have to add a couple text boxes eventually. One is going to be the city and country that we're in, so that we know what we're looking at. And that doesn't have to take up a lot of space. But we don't want to have to go look this up. If we want to find a better example of this, we like to fill in our text boxes with white in the background usually, unless you have a better idea. And we do like to do lines. This right here, we'll get the border color, and we like the border weight to be about 4. But again, there is some artistic choices you can make here yourself. So this is in Paris, France. And so some of these little things are just going to be living on the side of this slide that you created. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And then we might make other artistic choices about this, like I might go make the background a solid black background. Okay, and then eventually we're going to add other mathematical labels that have to do with like the leg and the hypotenuse and things like that. But again, I don't want to get carried away with that. I'm just worried if you guys can use Desmos, if you guys are going to have trouble with getting a triangle on the picture. Once you get that, what you want to do is probably label it and hit save, right? So save and give it a title. I could call this Louvre right triangle. And we can save it. Now we can see the sides of our right triangle. And if you notice what it says here in the group, because I said you get an extra bonus if your triangle is a Pythagorean triple. And that means that all the sides are integers, okay? So all the sides have to be integers if you want to get extra credit. So to do that, you can use this little function called distance. And if you type in distance and then A comma B, it should tell you the distance in between A and B, okay? And we can see that's not an integer, right? That's 5.44. So I already don't have the correct value that I would need, right? So we want them to all be integers. So if you can make that happen, it's an extra challenge that I'm giving you, and it'll give you a little bit of a headache, but I'm going to go ahead and increase the score from that. You'll get 100 extra XP if you could do that, not 1,000, but 100, okay? After you do that, you did want to try to talk about this, but we'll reflect on this in our groups once we have our slides done. So I'm hoping you guys could get this done with the second half of class. On Monday, we should have been using this video to push you through the art of geometry. And the main thing, again, like I said, is you want to save your image so that if we have to come back to it, it's not lost. Okay, and again, if you want to check for the extra credit, you go ahead and check all of your distances, right? So I also have to check the distance between B and C is an integer, which is not here. And then the last one I would say is the distance between A and C. Those are the three sides of the triangle, okay? And if they're all integers, then that means you get extra credit. And that, again, is an extra challenge that I ask you guys to try to solve if you could, okay? Good luck working on this, and know that it's due at the end of class on Tuesday.